thank you guys so much for being here today on another episode of the Amanda Dake Show. I'm here with Karrie Chariton, and we are going to talk about Pinterest marketing tips and why you should be using Pinterest for your business in 2021. So Karrie is a Pinterest marketing strategist, and for the last 4 years, she's helped dozens of women entrepreneurs build their incomes, visibility, and expert status using Pinterest and Pinterest ads. She's worked with DIY bloggers, coaches, service providers, and Shopify owners to build their Pinterest accounts starting from zero and accounts with 12 million monthly viewers. She also loves teaching DIYers how to start using Pinterest for their business through her course, Pinning Foundations. When she's not down in the Pinterest rabbit hole, she can be found homeschooling her 3 children or reading a personal development book. So, Karrie, thanks so much for being here with us today. I am so excited to learn more about Pinterest because it is something that I definitely don't use at all. I just don't.
Well, thank you for having me. That is a common, that's like most of my education really is because people use Pinterest for recipes, things like that.
Home decorating ideas.
Home decorating. Like I have blogger clients who are like DIY bloggers, and it's like going down like an HGTV rabbit hole. And it used to be called the blog. It was really known as a blogger's platform. And so that's what people think. And so it's like, as an entrepreneur, it's like, well, no, we can use it for your business. And really, I think what gets confusing is because on our websites, everyone wants to know, what are your social handles?
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. And so I kind of equate YouTube and Pinterest because they're both used as search engines. You can comment on YouTube videos, and you can do that now on Pinterest, but for the most part, it's a search engine. And so if you've ever paid attention when you are searching for something on Google, depending what the topic is, you'll see Pinterest results underneath.
Okay, that's interesting. That's
so
good.
Pay attention to that.
Yeah.
It's more common than it used to be. I remember many years ago when you would search things on Google, Facebook results would come. And I remember that because I had closed my Facebook account for a while. And then it was like, oh man, I don't have Facebook. And so then I reopened my Facebook account. And then now that's switched. And if you pay attention, there are a lot of Pinterest results. And that's because Google, they like scrape the database or do something with Pinterest. And so there are 2 different types of SEO. They're not exactly the same. We can get into that in a little while, but so a lot of that crosses over. And so it works similarly. You either can search in Google, you can search on Pinterest. And so depending what your business is, if it's on Pinterest and it's keyworded correctly, same as like Google SEO, your content will be found.
Okay, so who would be ideal for using Pinterest as another marketing tool? What type of business? Does it matter what kind of business, or are there certain types of businesses that really do well on the Pinterest platform?
Well, there are certain niches that do well, more creative businesses. I want to say like branding and logos, anything, Canva templates, visual. The kind of tip that I use to tell people, I think every business should have a presence. If you have content of any kind, you can use Pinterest as a traffic driver, but go into the search bar and type in what you do. Like, what would people search on you to find you? And if there is a lot of content around that, chances are you should be there.
Okay, that's really a good way to know. I know that I see a lot of, say, health and fitness on Pinterest, but you know what? I see, now that you've said it's like a search engine, I see what they want me to see when I go there, right? So depending on what I've been looking for lately, that's what's going to be at least on my little home screen when I show up. So that makes a lot of sense. But I see a lot of health and fitness. So if you're a health and fitness entrepreneur, that would be Pinterest would be ideal, right? For you to, because especially depending on your content, people are searching, how to drop that 10 pounds fast, or how to go keto, or work out from home. There's so many options for the health and fitness niche. But
Mhm.
thinking about even in my space of coaching and
Mhm.
online business, it's such a great suggestion to just go search the thing that you do and
Mhm.
see. Not only can you see if there's a presence there already, but then you can kind of, how we're taught to funnel hack, right, from Russell Brunson. We can also see
Mhm.
what other people are doing, and maybe find some ways that we want to model, instead of starting from scratch. So I really do love that idea. So
I always suggest, like, when you for content creation, if you need, like, your mind is like, I'm dried up, I got no
yeah.
ideas whatsoever. I like to use Pinterest as a content creation, or you type in the topic, what are people talking about, what are people searching for, and can add your expertise. And so that's what I mean in my intro. It's like, you're creating the content. Obviously you're going to make yourself look good, and it's going to show that you are the expert in whatever it is, and
Mhm.
so that's your opportunity. Look at what other people are writing about. You can add in your angle, or similar to funnel hacking, exact same thing. And it's also, I mean, it's good for email. You can grow your email list. So, like, info product people, course creators, you can grow your email list by using a lead magnet or
Okay.
an SLO. You can drive traffic there.
Wow. Okay. Man, there's so many options.
Mhm.
We're in, especially if you're just getting started in this online space, we're just kind of taught, about Facebook ads. That's kind of it's the lowest barrier to entry. Basically, it's just so easy to get into that way. So
Mhm.
Pinterest, can you get traffic on Pinterest without running ads, without paying money, or is it beneficial really to go ahead and put some of the dollars behind it, once you start, putting some of your content up over there?
Well, absolutely, you can get good organic reach. Ads on Pinterest are still very new. And
Hmm.
so, from a untapped resource, definitely, it's been interesting because of the whole Facebook Armageddon and ads
Yeah.
getting shut down. I've had a lot of entrepreneurs, when that one ad account gets shut down and that's a major part of your income,
Hmm.
they kind of all got thinking, well, let's check out YouTube and Google ads and Pinterest ads. And so I've had to educate on that too, because it works differently than Facebook. Facebook, a lot of people, you can do it for a much shorter time. I mean, you can do, like, I've been taught, you do like the $1,000 ad test, and you run ads for like 3 days, and
Hmm.
see if your funnel's working. And Facebook just gives you that information
Yeah.
back so quickly. And so people that have come to me for Pinterest ads, they're like, oh, well, I spent all this money and I didn't get anything. Well, I'm like, well, how long are you running your ads? And,
Hmm.
just because you put more money doesn't mean you're going to get more results. And so you need to run ads. I mean, the minimum it would be 7 days, but to really get it going to optimize, it takes about 30 days.
Wow. Okay.
So I say, whatever budget you're going to start with, you need to be able to carry it for 30 days, because
Uh-huh.
in that time you're testing creative and keywords and these different things, and it's different because it's slower than Facebook. And so it's not that instant gratification that
Yeah.
Facebook ads give. So there are some differences, and so there's some education from that point too.
So let's talk about a couple of different things. Number one, like I've always had a personal Pinterest account, right? Where I create my boards and I'll go find my recipes that I want, right? Or I have, like, different boards for different little things.
Mhm.
But that's on my personal side.
Mhm.
So is there a way to create a strictly business side of Pinterest for yourself? Would that be like, let's talk like the first steps getting onto Pinterest, right? Wouldn't that
Sure.
be creating your
A business
business
account.
page? I guess what's the lingo there?
Well, you would create a new Pinterest profile for business.
Okay.
It used to be, and they've changed this, I think, in the last 6 to 8 months. It used to be that if you had a personal account, you could just go, like, in the upper right hand corner under settings and flip it over to a business account. But
Mhm.
that no longer applies. And so now you just can open up a business account from scratch.
Uh-huh.
And so some of the things you'll want to do are claim your website.
Uh-huh.
Pinterest wants to make sure that you're you. And so the same thing applies, like you add a profile picture, same
Mm-hmm.
one across all profiles of your
Uh-huh.
different social media so that people know that that's you. There is, then you're going to create the boards. I mean, it's different than personal, because personal is obviously just anything that you like. When you create a business account, you want to create boards around the categories of topics that you talk about.
Uh-huh.
So like if I mean, I talk about Pinterest and sales funnels and email marketing and the different aspects. So you create boards specifically around those topics, and then also around topics that you create content for,
Uh-huh.
because you want to make sure that I mean, you're creating content and you need to pin it to boards. You need to make sure that those boards are
Exist.
exist. Exactly.
So if you had started a business account
Mhm.
before the new rules, do you need
Mhm.
to go back and you've never really done anything with it? Do you need to go and create a new business account, or is that business account still good?
If you created a business account, even if it's old, it's still good.
Okay, so you don't have to start all the way over. If you've already said
No.
maybe this was a good idea and then you really just never did
And it just
anything with
sat there. Yeah, that's fine.
it, like I did. Um, okay, so you create your board, I mean your account, and then some boards, which makes
Mhm,
total sense, right? So what
mhm.
kind of content would you pin in those boards? Other people's content too? Or would you want to only pin your content in the boards that you create?
Well, most likely, you would, I suggest 10 to 15 boards, all with at least 10 to 15 pins. That's a lot of content that most entrepreneurs don't have that much content. So
Yeah.
what you want to do, you can definitely pin other people's content there. And that's actually a way. Pinterest uses keywords, which
Hmm.
is also called Google, it's called Pinterest SEO. And so by searching those particular topics, like for sales funnels, for example, you have a sales funnel board, you're going to want to make sure that you search sales funnels and then put only sales funnel pins on there, because that's all these things go together, that Pinterest learns, okay, well, it's sales funnels, there's pins, people are coming to your board and they're seeing your content. And there is a way, they put pins out based on how the users are looking at your content. So if I search for sales funnels and I click on it and there's like a cat
Right.
blog on the end, sometimes there's a question, will be like, is this the content you were looking for?
Right.
Like, no. And so then that's a bad user experience.
Right.
Pinterest could potentially mark you down as a spammy account.
Hmm.
And so just make sure that everything is related.
Okay. So that's number one, creating your profile account. And then number
Mhm.
two, I guess, would be um, starting to create your content or position your content on Pinterest. So, how would somebody go about adding their own content to
Mhm.
Pinterest?
Well, let's first talk about content. You don't have to be a blogger
Okay.
to have content. I mean, people have podcasts.
Uh huh.
I've had a YouTuber client she didn't want traffic going to her website. She wanted to optimize
YouTube.
and monetize YouTube.
Yeah.
So we created pins to drive to YouTube. And so you can also use Facebook Lives if you've done,
Mm-hmm.
because you do a live on your business page and it sits there and never really to be seen again.
Yeah.
And so you can create pins. So basically, it's whatever you create, you're going to want to create pins that
Mm-hmm.
are, they're 1,000 by 1,500 pixels. You can create as many pins as you want. So you could create, if you had a really great video that you wanted to drive traffic to, you could create 10, 12 pins if you wanted.
Uh huh.
Test out different title names. You want to make people find out what's on the other side. So
Right.
you kind of, not clickbaity, but like
Right.
curiosity based headlines. Hey, what are my 5 top tips for the best gluten-free chocolate cake, or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is? And so you want to entice people to the other side. And so, um, you can use whatever content you want. I suggest being strategic. So if you want to grow YouTube, for example, just create pins to go to YouTube. If you just want to be on all the platforms, then embed the YouTube video or the podcast episode on a blog post
Uh-huh.
on your website, create pins to go there. If you want to grow Instagram, you can send people to Instagram.
That's pretty amazing. So, not long ago in another podcast, I interviewed a woman named Beck Power, and we talked all about repurposing your
Mhm.
content. And so that is going perfectly with what you're saying, because if you are a person that has been creating content like me for years, literally,
Yeah.
now that stuff that's been sitting on Facebook that nobody ever will see because it's not like YouTube where it's not searchable. I mean, it's
Right.
kind of searchable, but people don't really use it that way. Now I
Mhm.
can go back to some of those really valuable videos and revive them, basically.
Exactly.
Not have to reinvent my wheel, right?
Mhm.
Not have to go back and create all new videos about things or whatever. I can just go back and repurpose some of the content that I've already got out there from various platforms. I love
100%.
that idea so much. It takes a
Anything that
lot of
has the
overwhelm away.
URL. Oh, well, it can do either one depending on how you're getting started. So it could either overwhelm you or not. So
For me, thinking about videos that I made a few years ago that are just sitting on Facebook, not doing anything, to be able to put them somewhere now that they're searchable
Mhm.
and I can drive them back to wherever I want them to go. I think that's fascinating. It's
Mhm.
Now it takes time, right? And so we
Mm.
have to
Right.
decide what is the best use of our time. Is it going back and looking at old content and trying to create this beautiful Pinterest experience for people, or is it going to be used other ways? But just like
Right.
any task that you do in your business, if you just allot yourself, I love to do things in 30-minute blocks.
Mhm.
Uh, in fact, whenever I'm teaching in my courses, I ask people to give me 30 minutes a day. That's all they need to get through each lesson, right? Each part
Mhm.
of content. So the same could be said for Pinterest or YouTube or Facebook or whatever. Maybe not YouTube because the creation of the videos is a little bit more intense. But
Sure.
if you just give yourself a window to work in, then it'll
Mhm.
be more manageable and easier to do. So how much time do you spend on Pinterest yourself? Because I know that you help other businesses and
Mhm.
you also have your own courses to walk
Mhm.
people through
Sure.
exactly some of the things that you're sharing here, which I've taken already a half a page of notes on what you shared with us.
Sure.
But how much time do you personally spend over on Pinterest, on the business side of things for yourself?
Not long at all. One is because you can work it into your workflow. So if you have a new video or a new blog post or whatever, you're going to create. I don't create the Facebook rectangle image because that seems like a waste of time. I just make a square because you can put it on Facebook and you can put it on Instagram and you can put it on LinkedIn. And so then I just, I'm in Canva. I've created
Yep.
the images. I resize it to a Pinterest pin. Takes 2 to 3 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe readjust, and it's done. And what I like to do is I like to batch my pins. I have a lot of old content similar to you, so I have a list of blog posts once a quarter. Either myself or I'll outsource to a VA. I have her make 3 pins. I give her the templates, make 3 pins for each blog post.
Wow.
And
Okay.
then I go in and schedule them out. I use a tool called Tailwind and schedule them out for 3 months.
Wow.
And
Okay. So
that's it. And then like once a week, half hour or so, I go in and fill in with other people's content.
mm-hmm.
There's some strategy in that, but really, it's just something. You're already creating images for your content,
Yeah.
so you just do that, and then you just get in a rhythm. But if I have to schedule out pins, I do that in a half hour a week.
Okay. That's pretty great. And so you mentioned that now there's a way that you can comment on pins, but is
Mhm.
engagement important over on Pinterest? where you need to reply to comments or anything like that, like the other platforms?
I don't know that that affects how well a pin is going to perform. It's more the clicks and the SEO that helps you get found.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to get like, I mean, I guess it depends what niche. I mean, like if you're in a DIY niche, maybe people be like, hey, what paint color is that? Or,
Right.
ask a valuable question. But for the most part, I've only got spammy
Mm-hmm.
comments or just like a, hey, nice pin, or, nothing really
Yeah.
building. I mean, you can also send messages within Pinterest. It'll send out a request. And so there's a lot of, if I don't see a profile picture of a real person,
Yeah.
then I think it tends to be spammy and
Yeah.
not really focused on business. So then I just ignore those. But I mean, it is a potential way to reach out and create relationships with other people, just like any other platform. Like you would send, a DM in Instagram.
Uh-huh.
And, in Instagram, you can tell if it's
Yeah. You
spammy
get
or
the spammy
not.
stuff
And so
everywhere.
it's very similar.
Okay.
Uh,
So for someone just getting started, probably just going for starting simple, basic posts, basic pins,
mhm,
and just the goal of just driving traffic to one specific place that you want them to go, whether
mhm,
that's a web page, a blog, a Facebook post, a YouTube video, and wherever it is that you want to send your people.
mhm.
Um, but then as we get better at that, we can get more complex in our strategy, right? So can we do people, allow, like, especially through, I'll just use Facebook ads as an example. We use Facebook ads to drive traffic to, say, a landing page, to get opt-ins, right, to build our email list, or to potentially make a sale.
Mhm.
And Pinterest can be used in the exact same way. Is that right?
That is correct. Absolutely. And you can actually use the two in combination, because you can either organic or through Pinterest ads. I mean, there is a Pinterest tag, which is the similar concept of a pixel. So it's collecting information as people go to your website and things like that. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can, if you have enough traffic, you can run Pinterest ads based on engagement. Who's engaged on your website? Who's engaged with your pins?
Mm-hmm.
You can, that pixel is collecting. You can run Facebook ads to like re-engagement
Uh-huh.
ads to that.
Yeah,
And
so if your Facebook pixel is installed properly on your pages, you can
mhm,
retarget those views that came from Pinterest.
mhm.
Also,
Yep, exactly. So I mean, there you can do all kinds of things, and I mean, like you said, it's like you start out easy. I mean, one of the first things I always suggest, which, you know, by the time you want to run ads, it's kind of too late. So from the very beginning, install that Pinterest tag, because whether
okay,
it's now or 2 years from now, if that's an option that you're going to go down, that pixel is just gathering this information.
okay,
So I would definitely recommend that. And I mean, Pinterest, it can be added into a workflow, but if you're like a brand spanking new entrepreneur, it's very hard to get momentum first with Pinterest,
yeah,
because you do need content of some kind. And if you're new and you need business and you need money coming in the door,
it's probably
you,
not the greatest place to start.
it's not, because you need to, you're networking with
Yeah,
people. And so you want to be on the Facebook and the Instagram, and then add in Pinterest.
got
And,
it.
and
Yeah,
so it's, there's beginner strategies, but not beginner for the beginner
right.
entrepreneur.
So that makes sense. So, for example, in my programs, we talk about launching a brand new course or program in beta,
Mhm,
right,
mhm,
without using ads.
mhm,
But we do need social media for that as part
mhm.
of the strategy. Pinterest would not be one of those places where we go launch that beta, because it's meant to be an engagement type situation where we have posts where people reply,
Sure.
where we talk to them, send them messages, whatever. So
Mhm.
it's not there's not many get rich quick options out there. First of all, I'm going to break that myth right now.
Right.
But
100%.
Pinterest would definitely not fit in that window if you're looking to make 8 to 10 sales of your brand new program right off the bat. It would be on down the line. I love the idea, though, of adding it into your workflow, where especially if you are fortunate enough to have a VA or a helper of any kind that can help schedule things out or create the graphics for you, whatever it is, just add that one extra thing in and not put all your time and focus over there, but at least you have a presence over there. So whenever you do decide if that's a direction you want to move into, you're not going to be starting from scratch. You've really helped take some overwhelm away from me today.
I'm glad.
Just
Awesome.
by suggesting taking old content and putting it up there like it's kind of like new. It's just repurposed. I love that so much because there's a lot of people that do have that type of situation that what are they going to do with it? You know, it just fits. So
well, and this is the easiest. I mean, if you have Facebook Lives, I mean, you can download them and then upload them to YouTube. I mean, that's like a whole nother workflow. I mean, there are multiple things you can do, but I mean, that takes time as well. So, I mean, there's no get rich quick.
That's right.
There's no, nothing happens in 30 seconds. I mean,
we're busting the myth now that almost all internet marketers are trying to tell people that you can just create a business and become a millionaire overnight, and it's just not like that.
Exactly.
Sometimes I wish it were, but it just isn't, and that's unfortunate. And so introducing Pinterest into your business model isn't meant to overwhelm you. It's not meant to be one more thing on the list of things to do, but it is such a valuable, underused tool that I think it's really important to introduce at least this audience to, and talk about the pros and cons of it. So how about share maybe a quick story of somebody you've worked with that could inspire some of us to say, yeah, I want to move in that direction. I know that you have a few, so do you have one that sticks out that could be kind of inspiring for the newbie?
Well, I mean, certainly, not the get rich quick thing, but I mean, people start on Pinterest, and if they don't see results in 30 days, they're kind of like, oh, it doesn't work. So you need to be consistent at least 3 to 6 months. So you have to be in it for the long game. But I do have clients. There's different ways to use Pinterest. I helped one, she's a homesteader, and she came to me and she wanted me to drive traffic to her website because she wanted to monetize. So there's AdSense, which is like the first tier for bloggers, and then the next one is Mediavine. That's the next step up, and it's where more of the money comes in for monetization, and it's more of like a professional-ish blogger thing works.
Yeah.
And so and she had great content. She does gardening. She has a lot of different content with homesteading, essential oils, gardening. And so with gardening, I mean, that since Pinterest does lend well to seasonal content, spring gardening, what are you planning in the spring? We were talking about birdhouses. Like, how do you prep, how do you prep your garden for spring? Then it's like, okay, well, now everything came through. Now I got all this produce. What the heck do I do with it? So I got to can it, right? And then how do you winterize your garden? And so she has all this content. And so when you monetize, you have to have like the certain amount of page views and that Mediavine wants you to have. And so for her, because of her content, we researched and got her creating content when it would be most appropriate. And we got her on Mediavine within 3 months, from like 10,000 views up to 25,000 views. And so I can't emphasize enough, like the type of content.
Yeah.
It is a game. I mean, Pinterest really is a game similar, you're not going to put out Christmas content for any platform in the middle of June or July, right? Unless you're doing Christmas in July, right?
Right.
But so that can be done. Like that's just strictly driving traffic and monetizing. And then you add in that second layer. Well, she had lots of ebooks. So we started pins for her ebooks. That brought in a lot of emails because now it's like we're driving traffic. More people are seeing her pins. They're going to landing pages, or every blog post has a sign up, a prompt on the blog post. If I'm writing about tomatoes, well, get my tomato ebook. So there's, different ways that you can do that. And so, and then she built on after time. We've been working together over a year now. She started a course. So she built a course. Well, over the year, because she's grown her email list, now you have a lot of people to launch to. So
yeah, that's really wonderful.
So
one thing that you
exciting.
said at the beginning that I think is important, regardless of the platform you're going out for, is research. And I think that's a very underutilized tool that's free most of the time for anyone wanting to create more content to reach more of their ideal clients, is just doing some research to see what's out there. And you stated at the very beginning, whenever you're looking at what should you be pinning, or what should you be creating your content on, if you just search it up and see what's going on the platform of your choice, then that's going to give you a really good indicator of which direction you should go. I do it for YouTube videos. I do it for when I'm helping clients decide on naming their Facebook group, right? We use Facebook search to see what people would be looking for, because you want it to be a highly searchable name. And so the same thing was done with your clients also on Pinterest. What types of things are trending? What types of things will be trending? Like you can kind of future pace it if you need to. So I think that's really important. Just not dependent on any platform, just in general, doing that research. If you have a list or following, ask them what they want to see from you or what they want to learn. If you don't have that yet, go and just start searching what's being searched up right now. There's so many cool free tools to do that. Yes. First of all, Google, if you start typing something into Google, it will autofill the rest of it at the, where the top searches are. So, and the same for YouTube. YouTube and Google are owned by Google. So exactly. If you go to YouTube and just start searching how to something, or if you just type in your niche, right, it'll start kind of auto-filling in what people are searching for, and it'll start sparking those ideas for you. And the same thing really is true for Facebook, but it's not used quite as often in the search capacity as these other outlets. So I didn't realize Pinterest was also like that. So that's really, and now that you mention it, I do remember like searching some type of chocolate chip cookie or something, and it's usually on my phone, and I usually mistype something because it's so small, right? Yeah. But it'll correct it for me and give me like the right description and a whole bunch of other options of what people are searching for. And it's fascinating how many people search for the same things.
Well, and so, I mean, like Google, there's other tools to help you find those Google top trending words. Pinterest has the similar thing. They created something called trends.pinterest.com. Okay. And so it's not as robust because it's only a year old, but it will tell you. So like if you had content like back to school, it will give you what has trended over the last year. And with Pinterest, the tip is to think like a retailer. They start putting out Christmas stuff like before Halloween, right? It used to be the day after Thanksgiving when I was a kid, right? It was like you were waiting for that, and now it's become like October. It's coming out with Halloween stuff, right? And so your content from a content creation, usually Pinterest comes first because you have to get the pins out first to feed Pinterest. Yeah. Then it's already created when you want to put it out on Facebook or Instagram. And so that's from like a tip for new content creation. But the trends will tell you, you can put in like a couple different search terms and it will tell you this one has more searches.
But
Well,
won't that help you decide how to title your pin
it
also?
will. Yes.
That I think is really important. And do you use hashtags in Pinterest?
Not any longer.
No. Okay.
No. Pinterest ebbed and flowed for a while. Yes, then no, then yes. And finally we got the definitive no.
Yeah.
And so I think similar, like now Pinterest video is big. And so they tried things from other platforms. And I don't think, you know, Pinterest has been around long enough. And because it's sort of been the blogger platform,
Uh-huh.
people use it in a certain way. And like a lot of times, like the pinners go to research something
Mhm.
and plan something, unlike Facebook, or Instagram, where you could be scrolling and you see
Yeah.
something and it's like your spontaneity. It was like, oh, I see this Facebook ad for a course, right?
Yeah.
$37 course, and you buy, right? Well, on Pinterest, people are intentionally searching for something, and
Yeah.
they may not be ready to buy at that point, but they're going to save it, right? They're going to save it to
Mhm.
the board. And oftentimes, I mean, Pinterest, they just had a conference last year. Every year they put out their Pinterest predictions.
Mhm.
Even before COVID hit, they put out their 10 predictions of this is the content that's going to be big. 8 out of 10 things they were correct on. So if you want to know, if you're in like the health and fitness, for example, what is going to be the trend? What is something you could go for? So like one of the examples with, I mean, we know this from COVID, is like, okay, well, I'm sitting around in my yoga pants and my shirt, right? Because I can be comfortable. And so like they have this new term, which is like athleisure
Yeah.
meets whatever. And they call it flow or something. I don't know what it is, but like, so they're giving you these predictions in a lot of different niches. And so it's
Yeah.
actually neat to see what's coming, because that's what they think people are going to be looking for. And so if they were 8 out of 10 last year before COVID hit, now it's like, well, let's see what people are looking for. And that could be something from a planning perspective
Mhm.
that you could add to your business. Like, oh, well, I didn't think about that. And
Yeah,
so
that's
one of the
wonderful.
predictions actually was more of the business focus, because
Uh-huh.
people were home. People want to start at home businesses, and so there's a lot more content, and it's growing every day because more entrepreneurs are realizing that
Yeah.
Pinterest is a platform to use in that way. So like when you mentioned launching courses, not a launch platform, because
Right.
but if it's evergreen,
Mhm.
your content, your course, you can be getting sales on autopilot while you're sleeping. It's just you have organic pins going, you have links in blog posts or any of your other content. I
Yeah.
mean, if you did a video on YouTube, you make a pin that goes to the YouTube. You're talking about your course, or
Mhm.
your call to action is, hey, go check out my course. You're creating all
Yeah.
these different touch points for people.
I love that so much. So, what are the top ways that you work with people? So, I know that you have a course
Mhm.
that's to kind of like do it yourself, right?
Right.
But
Mhm.
what are some other ways that you can help people navigate this world of Pinterest marketing?
Sure. So besides the course, so I have like my two roads. One is the DIY, and then how I work with clients. They will come to me. The first month is always set up, because
Yeah.
regardless if you've, dabbled in it, like you created 10 boards and you left it and now you're coming back to see me, or you could be, using it regularly, but if you're not getting the results, I still have to look at your
Go kind of
boards.
revamp that.
I have to revamp it. I have to look at your keyword strategy, because that's essential in getting found. And so that first month is really like checking these things out. Do you have a Pinterest tag? What are you trying to do? What is your strategy? Do you want to
Mhm.
drive traffic? Do you want to get signups? Do you want to go to YouTube? What is your strategy? And then after that, then I can just like literally take over and do monthly management. So I do that. I do the pin creation and scheduling and all that.
Okay.
Or I have a Pinterest intensive, which is you want to use Pinterest, you want to do it, but you want some whole hand holding.
Yeah.
And so it's like I look at all your social media, I look at your website, I look at your content, how can, and then like we create a plan. So
Yeah.
I'll look at your existing YouTube or your Pinterest account. I do the research, keyword research, and like literally hand it over to you and be like, okay, use these keywords, create this content. If you need help creating content ideas, we can create like a content buckets of
Uh-huh.
things that you just should do. And so basically we just create that strategy together and I hand it
And
over
then
to
it's
you,
off.
and
You're
then
going on.
they do that. And then the third way is doing Pinterest ads. And
Okay.
so
So you will run ads for people.
I do run ads for
Um,
people, yes.
do you need to have a presence on Pinterest to run ads on Pinterest?
Technically, no. You What I always suggest, because I do have people that are interested, they came from Facebook and they're like, oh, I want to run Pinterest ads, but I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And so I always suggest we set up their account. So, like, the first month will be that setup anyway,
Uh-huh.
because it's sort of like you get an ad for a product and you go see an empty storefront.
Right. So it's just like like I see a ton of ads all day long, like over on Facebook or Instagram, and
Mhm,
I almost always click on their name or
mhm,
whoever it's from. And
sure,
if I go to a place that is brand new, I'm less likely to continue on the path. So I
exactly.
guess Pinterest would be the same way. They're going to click on you and see you have something there or not, right?
Right. And you don't want to seem like you're that flash in the pan,
Yeah.
because I mean, they can look at, okay, well, you have boards, you've put some effort into it. There is, you're going to claim your website, so they can click on your website, go to your website. And I mean, we do that. We like kind of stalk them, check
Uh-huh.
people out on who you want to do business with. And so
Yeah.
I suggest doing that, but really organic and ads are two separate things. And so even if we just do setup,
Yeah,
that's
just kind of the
okay.
bare minimum to
Right.
just get it looking legit, I
Yes,
guess you could
exactly.
say.
Right.
Well, I think it's wonderful, and I really appreciate you coming on to tell us more about Pinterest. I know that we talked pretty in depth about some of these strategies, and I just hope that I didn't confuse people. Like I know that like I have so many questions are from not being versed in the platform. And so
Sure.
what is one last tip that you would give someone that is interested in moving forward with Pinterest? What would be kind of a number one kind of pro tip from Karrie that says, this is what I would do? Aside, we already talked about how to start your profile and all of that, but what's one like awesome tip that you would give someone that's just getting started over there?
Well, it's very easy to get like confused in like the whole, like you're going to end up there, go down the rabbit hole, you're clicking on things. So try to have a strategy, like what is your purpose,
Hmm.
and set a timer. Like,
Oh, nice.
I'm
Yeah.
just, like we had talked about like working in 30-minute chunks. I mean,
Hmm.
you can go there and you're going to be like, oh, I just want to check if my business should be on Pinterest, right? And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you see all these pins, and then you're like, oh, let me click on this one, let me click on that one. That can be overwhelming. And
3 hours later.
3 hours later, yes. So from a productivity standpoint, set a
Yeah.
timer really would be key. And
Yeah.
then, stick with one strategy, and like don't try to grow Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, all the things
Yeah.
at one time. And then, like my third little tip is you have to see what's working. And so we didn't even get into that, but
Yeah.
like when you start pinning, you do have to look at your analytics. You can look at them in Google Analytics, or Pinterest has analytics, and just revisit what you're doing.
Hmm.
And, I mean, that's like with any platform you're on. You need to go back and revisit, like, is your strategy working?
Yeah.
Is it worthwhile? Because like for me, I'm barely on Instagram. I just do it for fun. But when I need to cut something down in my business, it's like, I don't post on Instagram because,
right.
and
And
I
that's
looked in Google Analytics.
Yeah.
It brings 3% of my traffic. Not going to spend my time there. So,
Yeah, that's
just
very
work smart.
important to realize for anyone looking at going more multi-platform, right, in their marketing. Pick the things that really are going to work for you and be consistent with them. And then only add in the next ones if they make sense, number one. And number two, if you have the resources to do it. If you're already frazzled and freaking out about what to post on your normal platforms, don't add another platform in. Even though Pinterest, we've talked about how great it could be, but if you're already, not consistent with your emailing, not consistent with other things, the key is to get consistent with one or two first, and then look at adding more in. I think a lot of us get distracted by all these shiny objects or like, oh, the next best thing. And we end up doing nothing great. And I think that's really important too, right, is not to spread yourself too thin, but master one platform at a time. And pick the one that your ideal clients are hanging out on the most. So if you are, say, a person with courses on food prep or like I'm just going off of what I know about Pinterest because it's all about recipes and things like that. So if your ideal clients are those people like me, always searching for recipes, new things to feed their families, things like that, well, maybe Pinterest would be a great platform for you to be on. But make sure that whatever niche you're in, it makes sense for you to go there. Because we only have so much time in a day and we want to maximize that and make sure that we're using our resources, efficiently and effectively, because we don't want to be sitting in our offices for hours and hours, looking or scrolling on our phones at night, right? Looking up all kinds of things. So I think, it's really important to have that strategy regardless of what platform you use, and then follow that strategy with consistent effort. So, Karrie, where is the best place for someone to find you and connect?
My website, karriemarie.com. Right on the very front page is for anyone that's new that needs help setting up their profile. They can sign up and get, how to set up your profile in 5 easy steps. And then, of course, there's a contact me. So if you have questions or you can check out my services, all right there.
Awesome. And I'm going to also have links in the show notes for anyone to be able to get a hold of you. And also, I think you have a free gift for us, the Pinterest Business Challenge, right? So I'm going to have a link for that as well in the notes for anyone that is interested in kind of like going all in on Pinterest and getting moving forward and using your help to do that, because you are definitely the expert in this area. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. I can't wait to see what people start creating on Pinterest. And I'm actually going to dive in.
I can see your wheels turning like, okay, what can I do?
Yeah, I'm so excited. So thanks a lot. This has been wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
All right, bye.
Hey, thanks for checking out this video. Subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't done that already. And if you'd like to check out more of our videos, go ahead and just tap the screen right here.